In the course of this lecture, I would like to talk to you about the teaching and learning of speaking skills in English, or what is popularly known in the present times as spoken English. Before we go further, we need to understand a little bit of the background as to how the spoken dimension of a language is really learned. We need to observe here that it is learned in two ways. The first method is that of a native speaker, the way of a native speaker. Interesting, for a native speaker, the spoken language or the speaking skill happens naturally. In fact, he has to put very little effort, very little conscious effort to learn it or to develop it. Only in the later stages of his education, he hones it further, polishes it further. But basically, speaking skill comes to a native learner naturally. How does it happen to him naturally? It happens to him, it comes to him because language is a social product. He is a part of that society. He listens to the speech sounds, he listens to the words, sentence constructions. And since he listens to it, he listens, practices it fearlessly, spontaneously. Speaking skill comes to him naturally. Well, we know that for him, writing is difficult. And in fact, writing is an acquired skill. Speaking is almost natural, a natural product, something that happens to him naturally. But the second way is acquired language. Learning, that is, learning language through conscious learning, spoken language through conscious acquisition. This is the story of a non-native speaker. Like the speaker of English, someone who wants to learn a speaking skill in English in India. Because here the learner is not a native learner. He doesn't have the benefits of a native learner. He doesn't have a whole society around him speaking English. So he has to acquire it consciously. For him, it is a school language, a kind of a laboratory language, an outside language which needs to be drawn in consciously. He has to acquire it deliberately, applying his mind consciously with lot of effort. We need to notice here that it is this absence of a natural ambience, natural language atmosphere, a language biosphere, that puts difficulties for an English language learner in India who wants to learn speaking skill. This is the challenge. So he has to learn it in a naturalized manner, acquiring language consciously. Now, knowing this is important. However, we also need to know that English, spoken English, or speaking skill in English can be and is learned by the Indians, though putting conscious effort. It is learned. Millions of us have learned English speaking skill that way. And now we have come to know that it is possible to learn English in this naturalized manner also. We have only put in extra effort. That means an Indian learner can learn English with a little bit of extra effort, compensating for the absence of an English language learning ambience around him. Now the question is how to acquire the spoken skills. What to do to learn English, to learn spoken English, or to learn speaking skills. How to quicken the pace of learning it. What are the strategies for learning and teaching of speaking skills? First one, the first stage is to overcome the first stage in the learning of speaking skill. The first conscious effort needs to be to break the fear barrier. Break the fear barrier. The language phobia. Somehow we know in India there is a language phobia, that is, we all want to learn English, but we are all scared of speaking English. This phobia is there. But then why this phobia has come? What is the root cause of this phobia? This phobia has come because we are too much conscious, or we want to speak correct English all of a sudden. We need to understand one thing here. This is not the way a native learner learns any language. That is, he is not bothered about the idea of correctness in the beginning. He speaks. He starts speaking that language. Please look up at a child as to how it learns a language. It makes a number of mistakes. It doesn't bother. And then it acquires language. So this fearlessness of a child, fearlessness of a school student is what we need to develop as part of speaking skill learning, the acquisition of speaking skill. What we need to do here is to overcome the fear barrier and to keep out the idea of correctness. Idea of correctness. In fact, we need to know that languages themselves are not correct, and nobody can speak, does speak something like a correct language. There is the very idea of correct language itself is incorrect. It's only the question of acceptability. If the language you speak is acceptable to the listener, to someone else, that is fine. So, to break the fear barrier in the learning of speaking skills, what we need to do is to understand this, that we need not be correct in the beginner stages. What is very important is to turn ourselves on. We need to realize that language learning is also something like the learning of swimming. No amount of reading books on the banks helps someone to swim. We need to get into water. In the same way, a language learner needs to get into language and start using it. And once he starts using it, slowly the language will reveal itself to him. So, the teacher and learner who are involved in the process of learning spoken language or speaking skills need to know this, that we need to overcome the fear barrier at the very outset. In India, language learning is closely linked to this fear barrier. Breaking the fear barrier associated with the learning of speaking skills is what a teacher needs to do at the outset. He needs to take away the fear in the minds of the students in the very first stage and allow them to speak, allow them to come out. This is the first step in the teaching and learning of speaking skills in English.